I wish you bluebirds in the spring to hear your song, a song to sing, and then a kiss more than this. I wish you love.
Welcome to the Forgiveness Solution Podcast. I'm Reverend Misty Time. You can find me at revmisty.com. Also, you can send me your forgiveness questions and your forgiveness stories at revmisty@outlook.com. And you can subscribe to this podcast at Sacred Stories. We would love it if you'd like us. Today, I'm so excited because we're going to have a fantastic guest. And we're going to talk about the mind and body connection. We're going to talk about that with Tammy Perrine. And Tammy Perrine is a doctorate of physical therapy. She's certified in as an orthopedic specialist, and she has many, many certifications. And I'm going to let her get into that. Tammy, can you say hi for us?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening.
So, Tammy, tell me more about your training, because it's really in depth and has such richness to it, and you really do get into the mind and body and that connection. We're going to talk more about that, but tell me about your training.
Well, it started with college as a bachelor's of science in athletic training and exercise. I was completely involved in sports medicine. I've always been an athlete, and I just thought, at the beginning, I wanted to try to heal and fix and help and rehab injured athletes. And that was, 20 years ago. 20 years ago. Following that journey with athletes, I decided to go back to school and get my doctorate in physical therapy. It gave me the opportunity to work with many more aspects of medicine, all ages, which you learn so much working with all ages. And following that, I decided to go get my board certification in orthopedics. That was a long, grueling test and process for study, but the knowledge that I gained from that just made my medicine side of things even stronger. But my kind of more holistic approach came just through the years of working with patients. I did many more certifications in applied functional science and kinesiotaping, all little techniques, manual therapy that I would use when I was working with patients. But this journey along the mind connection to the body has basically been taught to me by my patients because I take time with them. I have a unique practice. It's a sole proprietor. I work for myself. I don't have to follow the quick see someone for 20 minutes sort of model that often hospitals do or outpatient orthopedic clinics do. I get to, really spend a lot of time.
Most physical therapists, when you go in, you see them for a few minutes, they give you some exercises, and then you do those at home. So your practice is different.
Yeah, it's very different. I every time I approach a patient, I'm looking at them as a whole. So even if they're coming into me because they tore their rotator cuff in their shoulder, I'm looking at where they're at emotionally, why this happened, where they are in the stage of their life, not just age, but are they nearing retirement? Could that be fearful? Are they entering a time of stress with children? And then also looking at the whole body physically to see if there's some unique, changes or dysfunctions that are occurring much further away from the shoulder, even though the shoulder is the one that's crying for help and attention. So the problem could be stemming from, honestly, I've seen a foot problem. It was a shoulder problem that I treated the foot and the shoulder got better. So, that's how far away the body can kind of cascade the pain, even though the dysfunction is somewhere else. And that's something I've watched even grow and with experience with patients, that even their emotional pain can be so far away from what they're presenting physically. It's not that all the patients that have some, say, emotional pain or mind disconnect are going to come in with the same sort of conditions. I say orthopedically, that's my specialty. They can come in with all sorts of things depending on how they manifest that mind-body connection.
And that's exactly what we really want to touch today, because we are the forgiveness solution. We really want to find that solution for that pain that we all carry, that we do manifest in different ways. It's not just emotional pain that we think of. We think of emotional pain as crying or being angry, those ugly emotions, but that we actually do manifest physical pain through that emotion, and it comes through in our physical body, and you do see that.
Oh, yeah, I see that as long as my eyes are open. It's with every single patient. Every single patient. Maybe the soccer player that tore her ACL yesterday might not yet have that quite that connection, mind and body, but it's literally with almost every single patient. And like I said, it presents itself in a million different ways.
So when a patient does present to you, obviously with an injury, whether it be a back injury, whether it be a shoulder injury, you obviously are treating the injury. And when do you get into the mind and body connection with the patient? When does that part come up?
I get into it as soon as I say hello. I need to show up for them how they need me to show up. The trust that they will have in me from the first second they meet me will literally change their biochemistry of whether they can feel comfortable with me. I'm a healer. I can listen. Like as soon as you walk into a doctor's office, even if the secretary makes you, tipped off because she doesn't look at you or check you in right away, or you get nervous because you're late or the time was off on your schedule, that automatically is changing how your body's reacting physically. So the pain that you came in with is escalated before you ever even get to see the doctor. So I feel like it happens immediately when I see them. I need to show up for them how they need me to show up, and literally every single patient's almost different. Whether they need me to be more nurturing, more motherly, they need me to be more scientific, more friend, more pal, and I need to fill that space for them so that they can open up and allow the emotions to be shown, allow them to move, allow them to release. No one's going to open up if they don't feel safe,
and
right?
if they don't trust you.
Yeah,
correct?
Trust me.
Right. Is some of those emotions come from having the injury in the first place? Like they feel injured, so they feel vulnerable, and then that'll probably bring up more issues from whether it be their past, their childhood, where they didn't feel safe, and then that brings up those unforgiveness feelings from a past situation. So now they're feeling vulnerable, and that's bringing up those issues.
Absolutely, because there could be, let's just as an example, two exact same injuries of the low back. Let's say a 3 millimeter bulge of a herniation in a lumbar spine at L5S1, very common. And it will present very different. Like it would look the same on the MRI, but when they come to me and they're telling me where their pain is and how much it's interfering with their life and interfering with their work and their job and their family, and whether they're able to move forward and trust in the process that it's just an injury, they're going to get better. The exact same injuries will present completely different. So we have a lot of special tests to help figure out what's going on, but honestly, really understanding where the person is resonating with this problem, with this pain, with this injury matters so much more than a silly little special test that I've been taught in school to do.
So that's really what I'm hearing, is that it might not be the injury itself that is, quote, the unforgiveness, but it's the history of the unforgiveness in their life that they've been stuffing down, that then the pain of the injury is going to trigger the unforgiveness that they didn't deal with, or the pain they didn't deal with in their past, that now they're feeling vulnerable all over again, and they need to deal with it. So it's all kind of wrapped up in this ball.
Yeah, a big ball. I think also to add to that is I oftentimes do hands-on work, and so I'm doing manual therapy, and you can have things that have happened, say, in your past that involve touch or involved close encounters or bodies near each other, or once my hands go on someone, there's an energy exchange that happens, literally and emotionally, and that energy exchange for them, I have to have built that trust so that they feel comfortable letting that in, that it doesn't build up more angst as I'm trying to get them to relax whatever part of their physiology I'm working on.
And also when someone's having pain, pain itself makes you rigid because you're in pain. Mm-hmm. So it's very hard to relax. So that must be very difficult for you to get a person to relax when they're having pain, physical pain, and then there's emotional pain, all of that. That must be very challenging for you.
Yeah, thank God I have had a lot of experience, and it's getting a lot easier. It's a gift I feel like I was given, and I'm very grateful for that. One of the things, another word I want to throw out there that comes into mind when you mention that rigidity after an injury is fear. So I know you've talked about fear and forgiveness and its combination, but it's the fear of not being well, not being happy, not having enough, not living in life that's bountiful, that fear that they have that stems from who knows where. Everybody's going to bring that in. You add an injury on top of that, and it just escalates into the guarding and the restrictions and the lack of movement, and am I ever going to get well, and is this going to change my life forever?
And lots of times with unforgiveness, I talk about the person, or anytime you have that story of rerunning the story, that if this would have happened, this would have happened. If this could happen, this could happen.
And you should see some of the patients come in and just, they're so attached to the story about the injury. But it's not, I listen between the lines. It's not really probably just a story about the injury. They'll go on and on and on, and some people are blaming everybody. The first doctor I went to didn't do the right test, and then the second this, and they get so wrapped up in this story and blame and anger towards so many people that they can't even begin to unravel the guarding and the stiffness and the fear of movement or whatever's creating the injury I'm seeing.
And more pain.
And more pain.
And more pain.
Yeah, feeling more pain.
And wow, it's so fascinating because it is all tied together, the emotional pain, the physical pain, and trying to heal all of it. So when someone starts to heal, what do you see? What's that moment that you see when they start to heal?
They come in with a smile on their face, and then there's this excitement to come see me, excitement to learn more, excitement to let it go. It's a want and a desire in their place that maybe they haven't had, to come in and want to heal, want to move forward, want to change, want to accept what's happened and let it all go. Emotions that are happy, emotions that are excited, inquisitive. Tell me more about this, and why am I doing that exercise? And okay, and they'll have great stories to tell me now. Now it's kind of from present moment to future, as opposed to a lot of past. It's present moment. Yes, this morning I was getting out of bed, and my first step, my foot hurt, but then after I did those 2 things you taught me, it didn't hurt anymore. And so does that mean I'm going to be able to go play tennis in 3 months? And so it's present and future instead of really just hanging out in that past, that story they came in with. 4 years ago, I hurt my back, and the first doctor I saw. That story starts to fade.
Wow. So I just heard that instead of trying to rework your yesterday that you can't change, all of a sudden the person is starting to look at the present and start looking forward to the future. And that is what change. That's the change.
Yeah, it's pretty unique and special to be able to be part of it and see it happen in people.
Right.
And it changes the pain like immediately. Like it's so, I would like to say I have magic hands and they know what they're doing, but I'm just kind of helping them get to a place sometimes to move through that past.
Because it does require work on their part.
Yeah. Nothing in life comes free.
Right. And that includes working through emotional stuff and unforgiveness. It's there until you choose, it is a choice, to quote, let it go. And it does take preparing, or it does take work. And same with physical therapy. Getting over an injury takes work.
Absolutely, yeah. Anything good you're ever going to achieve in life, I've always said, requires this thing called work.
Right.
And I have even a personal story I was just going to share briefly about forgiveness and some issues that I had, female issues, blaming, some things that happened to me that was just settling a bunch of pain in my pelvis, stemmed into herniated disc in my back, stemmed into some abnormalities even on my ovaries that they thought they were going to have to do surgery on. And when I started to finally just let some of that blame and that fear go, and just really accept I'm all right, accept love, and moving forward, my pain just disappeared. Those cysts that were there, plain as day, very large, just shrunk to nothing. I mean, physical changes. This isn't just, my, subjective evaluation of what happened. It literally, you could see the difference on an ultrasound or on an MRI. And I watch that with patients. The MRI that comes a year later is completely different, and it wasn't just doing exercises or coming to see me. It's the whole thing, the whole package. I can't do exercises for my pelvic organ, so that's why I'm sharing that example with you, because I don't want to come across to just saying, you have to do this physical work. Sometimes it is just the emotional work that can release the physical pain.
I was talking recently with a very beautiful woman who talked about compassion for yourself, giving yourself compassion for those sad, negative feelings, and letting yourself have them, but giving yourself love and compassion.
I call it self-love, and I have it written right on my wall. As a matter of fact, just an example of yesterday, a young girl, back injury, comes in with mom because she's having trouble driving. It's an acute injury. And mom wants to tell me all about how she doesn't take care of herself, and she does so much for everyone else. And when I finally got mom to kind of go to the bathroom and get out of the room, I got a little bit more information from her, but it really did stem from there's some lack of self-love. I've only had one opportunity to work with her, but already she left getting off the table feeling a lot better. And it was much more my little tiny hints about just take a little bit extra time for yourself and know that you're going to be all right, and let the fear go, and try to figure out what it is that you could do today to show yourself a little more love and a little more patience.
I think we all could take a little more time just to give ourselves a little self-love, because we do run that negative tape really easily, don't we? Yeah. And
over and over.
Over and over. And I don't think anybody's immune to that. So give yourself a little bit more self-love. And I think that's definitely a takeaway from right now. So here we are. We know that we can do the physical work, we can do the spiritual work and the emotional work. In your education and your work, can you tell me about any actual studies or any other work that back up this mind-body connection that I'm by the way, very fascinated with?
Oh, and luckily, a lot more people within medicine, especially the holistic realm, are becoming very excited about. So they are starting to put out the research. In the last 10 years, there's definitely been more in the way of actually scientific research. And they found some very interesting connections between your natural biome, your bacteria, your flora in your body, what we're built of, what we're made of, not just our genes. There's a lot of bacteria that actually is extremely important in controlling our emotions. That bacteria is also in our brain, and it's controlling our emotions. And they go back and forth, and they talk to each other all the time. The gut and the brain are talking constantly, and they're talking based on what our natural flora would be at any given time. Well, as an example, if we have an emotional stress, an emotional pain, a fear, a sadness, an anger, we're going to release different hormones from our endocrine system that will, at that moment, change our biochemistry and our flora forever. Forever. Every little thing that's ever happened to us changes us forever. And I find that so fascinating.
Wow, that is fascinating.
Forever. I mean, it's a constant ebb and flow. The only thing sure in life is change. So it's always changing and always rolling. But once it happens, and once we get sad and we release a hormone of sadness, it's going to affect our biochemistry, even how our emotions can be later in life, 10 years from now, 20 years from now.
Well, that's definitely some science an idea that we need to stay happy.
Yeah.
A little more happy every day. I think I would like to stay happy, a little bit happier every day. Well, that really backs up the whole issue with understanding that the mind and body connection is not just exercise to strengthen our cells. It's not just be happy because it's nicer to be around happy people.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could all just be happy because we wanted to?
Yeah, I know. Wouldn't that be
Doesn't
great?
happen.
Yeah. I hope everybody gets that message. That'd be easier, because I know if everybody did exactly what I wanted them to do, I would be happy. People don't get that message. No. So, but the long story short of it is that we really need to understand that we're complex beings, and that it's everything. It's our spiritual connection, it's our emotional connection, it's our physical connection, it's what we eat, it's what we breathe, it's who we put ourselves around.
It's our environment, it's what medicines we've ever been on, it's
Right.
Whether our sister was younger or older, it's everything. And I hope medicine keeps moving in the direction of looking at a person from such a holistic view that it is everything. Where'd you grow up? Was it in an area that could have been exposed to certain environmental hazards that can create changes in your biochemistry, which can create disease processes later in life? It's intense. It's going to be a lot of unveiling, I hope, within the next 100 years. It's going to take some time. One thing that I often do to approach that full body connection right away, soon within treating someone, is I'll go over how they're breathing. And a lot of studies are coming out with breath. I got to go to a conference just this past spring and sit into a wonderful woman's talk on breathing and meditation, and her research behind it, and the research that's been done thus far behind it. It's more powerful to lower someone's blood pressure from doing 5 minutes of a breathing exercise correctly, in air quotes, correctly, than it is to be on blood pressure medicine. So we need to open our eyes to that. People that were released from, after having a heart event, let's say like a heart attack, that had pets at home, their recovery within 1 year, all their values and numbers and everything that we measure on the groups that had pets was astoundingly better than the group that didn't have pets, because the pets brought an emotional wellness to their being that created a healing, that created, obviously, better heart health.
And, there are some great studies actually now with heart health and heart cardiac programs that have integrated some amazing mindfulness and deep breathing and meditation. And the meditation studies now are just amazing. And a lot of people feel that meditation is really difficult, and meditation doesn't have to be sitting in a quiet room and sitting there for 20 minutes and nothing. It doesn't have to be that difficult. There's amazing programs out there. There's mindpt.com, and it's literally a couple minutes a day with beautiful music.
I forget what I just read, but it was, I forget where I just read it, but it was 3 minutes of meditation changed a person's health for life. 3 minutes.
Right.
And there's many ways you can get into it. There's many ways you can approach it. It doesn't have to be, like you said, just sitting in lotus position, all zenned out. It can literally just be a breathing exercise that I'll teach a patient of mine to do right before bed, which just sets their sleep cycle so much healthier anyway.
And people with pain problems, I know people with chronic pain, they can actually go and see someone and be taught how to actually breathe into their pain and acknowledge their pain, and it actually lowers their pain level. So there's many different ways to go about helping with chronic pain and chronic injury that didn't exist before. And another way to deal with the outward pain that we deal with in our physical body. And now with the connection between the mind, body, and emotional pain, it's all coming together in such an exciting way. And I'm very fascinated with this piece personally and professionally, because quote, unforgiveness is really those ugly feelings that we carry around, and we stuff them down for a really long time, and they kind of come back and bite us, right? Well, I don't want to tell you where they bite us, but they bite us.
I know. I think if I could spend a little more time with you, we might even be able to find out how it manifests and represents itself to me. I'm going to walk away from this talk looking for it. The different emotional pains, and especially if they, surround events of life, manifest, and I see that in that person. As an example, just to help people understand, if someone comes in with really a lot of foot pain, feet pain usually, knee pain, maybe even up into the hips, and they have really high arches, they're clawing their toes to try to hang on to life. they're not grounded. The foot is not connected to the earth. Their toes cannot even relax down. They're in a constant state of pulling away, just fear of settling in, everything's going to be okay. And once I see those feet walk in, it's so interesting. I automatically know kind of where the person is emotionally. So if I can pick it up in the feet for things like that, I'm sure if I spend a little bit more time, the lack of forgiveness is going to manifest its way in some physical way. Yeah, some physical dysfunction.
Well, this has been really fascinating, and we'd like to have, here at Forgiveness Solution, we'd like to have you back again as you delve deeper into this. Your experience is deep and broad, and we would love to hear more and more about it.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Wonderful time.
Well, here at the Forgiveness Solution, we like to say that forgiveness is really the link between love and healing. And you brought in another link there, that physical link. That is the other link on that little bracelet between the link between love and healing. It's forgiveness, it's gratefulness, it's also that physical link. And I want to thank you for bringing in that link today.
You're very welcome.
Okay. Well, again, if you want to find me, it's revmisty.com. Also here at Sacred Stories Podcast. Please subscribe and like us. And you can please send me your forgiveness questions at revmisty@outlook.com. Thank you so much.
I wish you bluebirds in the spring to hear your song, a song to sing, and then a kiss. More than this, I wish you love.